Hi, my name's Aaron Salada, and I'm a screenwriter. These are my friends, Kyra-Nicole Barkley, our producer, and Todd Mueller, our editor. And we're film students, and in our quest to make a documentary about Penn State, we uncovered a story about a murder in Happy Valley. Now, when you think of Happy Valley, a few ideas probably come to mind. The Creamery, Thon, and Joe Paterno. Some of you might also think of Sandusky, the death of Timothy Piazza, and the Stacks murder of Betsy Aardsma. But I want to take the time to talk about another story, one that's not as discussed. It's a story of Dana Bailey. Let's go back to the year 1987. Dana's 21 years of age and attending Penn State University for hospital administration. She's on track to graduate soon and engaged to be married shortly after. Dana has a bright future ahead of her. That all comes to an end on March 5th when her mother comes to visit her for the weekend. When her mother enters her apartment, she finds Dana stabbed to death, stripped, and bound to a chair. Police arrived shortly after the discovery and began their investigation. They found DNA and shoe prints at the scene. What's unsettling is Dana's body was posed in a sexually suggestive way, but was found to show no signs of sexual assault. She was posed as if she were being watched from a distance. Police discovered a spot from across her window on her roof. When searching the spot, they found a pair of shoe prints that matched the ones of the crime scene, suggesting that Dana was potentially stalked weeks prior, and that the culprit might have even been watching the events unfold after the murder. Police had numerous leads, even DNA evidence. The investigation in the beginning was looking quite strong, but of course, days became weeks, weeks became months, and months became years. March 5th of 2019 marked the 32-year anniversary of her murder, and yet, it remains unsolved. But why? We originally read about this story in a true crime blog written by Mike Morford. We were interested in learning more about our unsolved case, so we contacted Mike and asked for an interview.
Like I said, her case is one that's got a lot of different moving parts, and I don't know how deep you guys are researched or if you found a lot of the old material about it, but I don't know if you guys have ever been able to get copies of the letters found in the case, but I always thought that was an interesting part of the case, too.
Do you know where we could find those letters?
The best bet would be go to State College Police.
After our interview with Mike, we realized to find out more about the case, we'd have to move forward on our own accord. We started where anyone might: newspaper archives. Initially, there was shock. The community was both heartbroken and in a panic. Based on dozens of articles we found starting from March of 1987 to the mid-2000s, we've been able to paint ourselves a clearer picture of the events that unfolded and shed light on the suspects that made headlines and the ones that didn't. In the weeks immediately preceding the murder, police acted fast to analyze the situation and the evidence. A compiled chronology of the news articles shows that the State College Police Department at the time were actively avoiding the release of information regarding the ongoing case. They stated their reasoning was to prevent any damage to the investigation, which is understandable. However, the general public's opinion at the time appears to have been accusing the police department of mishandling the case, and their lack of comment on the matter further fueled this theory. The undergraduate student council at the time was so furious with the state of the investigation that they sent public letters criticizing the police work. The same was done by several staff writers at the Collegian. This atmosphere of discontent between the police department and the rest of the State College community fueled feelings of fear and gave way to several rumors and suspicions. There were dozens of potential suspects throughout the investigation. One of the most prominent suspects was provided from an anonymous tipster. This suspect was an HVAC mechanic at the time of her murder and had access to numerous rooftops in the area surrounding her apartment. The tipster provided physical descriptions of the suspect. Another suspect that received widespread attention was a police officer at the time. Dana's father was sent an anonymous letter around the 2-year anniversary. This letter addressed significant suspicions regarding an individual on the force, and it was signed concerned officers. The officer cooperated with the lead investigators and was later found to not be involved in the crime. In 2004, the Center Daily Times interviewed Tracy Bailey, Dana's sister, on the 18th anniversary of her death. Here's where we found arguably the most mysterious person of interest. Tracy stated that the police department had contacted their family a year prior in 2003 and had informed them of a suspect that had been withheld by the investigators for over a decade. Roughly 3 months after her murder, a male committed suicide. A suicide letter was found at the scene. Her name had been addressed 3 times. The suspect was a co-worker of hers at the Corner Room, a famous local diner where college students hang out. And upon further investigation into this individual, it was found that he matched 2/3 of the FBI profile, but failed to match the DNA obtained at Dana's crime scene. But where do we go from here? What's to be said of this case? Happy Valley is left with too many questions. Was the case mishandled? Did the police work their hardest with the information they had? Either point can be made from public viewership. It's difficult to analyze aspects of this case from the eyes of the public. There are unseen obstacles investigators have to deal with that make it incredibly difficult to chase down suspects. It can be frustrating as citizens, wanting more information, wanting something to be done. There are layers to this story. We encourage everyone to read further into this case, as there are other mysterious elements we haven't even covered in our brief story. In the years since Dana Bailey's death, over 800 people have been interviewed in connection to her case. We finished our journey with one last trip, to pay respects to the woman we've come to learn so much about. At the end of the day, what we're trying to achieve is discussion. This is just one of many unsolved crimes here in Happy Valley. Cindy Song, Jean Tuggy, and Jennifer Shadle. Dana, like all these others, does not deserve to be forgotten.